cloudy skies, feeling low and I don't know why. I guess it shouldn't be news to me now. It's been this way for centuries, but I'm holding out. I heard from legends in crystal balls. Sun gave warmth to the great and small. I saw the smile good old Ray put on their face. It ain't too much to want gentle grace.
Welcome back, listeners. DJ Smack Talk again. A lot just happened, and is still happening, so I'll try to make sure everybody is up to speed on what's going on. So while the Maulers were going after the last dragon, a big broadcast went out from some cultist defector named Amber, warning the other cultists, just get out before, I guess, the executive sacrificed them all to some draconic ritual. That went down, and then suddenly the Maulers were there at the Red Skull Cathedral, and then, by all accounts, the executive turned into a 3-headed hybrid, and then the cathedral blew up, and then there was a big 5-headed dragon that Skyfall fought against, and apparently they rammed it so hard it disintegrated. The last curse is gone, by the way. All the guns work now. That sure isn't going to cause problems. But more importantly, the volcano in the center of the mod just erupted. Not literally erupted, but I mean, there was a lot of smoke and fire and stuff, but like hundreds of dragons, big and small, just came flying out. And they're still out there, all around. I don't even need to tell you this. You can probably see them if you're hearing this. And now Skyfall's heading towards the biggest cluster of them, it looks like. More on this story as it develops. Hopefully I'll be back in a few minutes to tell you all about it. Smack Talk out. So there is just tons upon tons, hundreds upon hundreds of dragons, big and small, flying in circles and loops and swirls, in the sky above the dragon's maw. The volcano in the center is just spewing smoke now.
Can Steel try and navigate the city back towards the volcano?
Yeah, I assume that's what you're doing.
Okay.
And as you get closer, the dragons start circling around you more and more. Not you as in the ship.
Steel, is there a holographic... You're at the helm. Is there a holographic thingy? Illusion stuff? Can you make us look like a dragon?
You know, if we're not under attack, and if we're not expecting attack, you could come up here and look for yourself, rather than continuing to arm the weapons.
The weapons are...
Yeah, you were all at different weapons at the end of the last session.
Steel, I'm asking if there's any...
The answer is no.
The reason I am asking you is because you're right there.
Yes, it's also well known that I am a genius when it comes to airship technology, and I have years of experience knowing what all the switches and buttons do.
Well, I've never heard that before. That's actually rather impressive.
It's called sarcasm, moron.
Finally,
okay.
Chase gets on the PA and says, after most of the crew had been stunned by Tiamat's presence until you managed to defeat her, and then Chase finally gets on the PA and says, no, we don't have any such thing. Also, Steel, why are you flying towards them? Why are you flying towards them?
I'm not flying towards the dragon. I'm flying towards the volcano.
They're coming out of the volcano! They came out of the volcano! It's the center of all of them, and they are now all around us.
Yes, and that is also where we left Aurelia, who probably has a thing that is controlling the dragon. Well, at least keeping them in line. Also,
Actually, I think we sent Aurelia back here.
Yeah,
Vasuki.
you sent the B team and Aurelia back to Skyfall, and Aurelia specifically to talk with Vasuki.
Are they on the ship right now?
They are. And Aurelia seems to be
Am
heading...
I the only one who wasn't aware of that?
I mean, it's been a busy couple of sessions, can't really blame you. Aurelia seems to be heading for the crow's nest.
Does she have the thing?
She has a scepter in her hands.
Okay, if there's no reason to head to the volcano, he's instead going to head to... Remind me the name of the first town in the Maw?
Gold Rush?
Gold Rush?
Right, he's going to change course for Gold Rush.
No. Heading to the volcano is a good idea. I just wanted to look like a dragon while we were doing it.
Wait, if there's nothing left in the volcano, why are we heading there?
Because there are now dragons in the volcano.
There are
Like I
some
said,
dragons flying around it and sort of perched on the rocks around it and roaring.
Yes,
is
we
gonna-
have a plan to deal with the dragons, but we need to do it fast, otherwise some of them could, I'm not going to say escape, because that assumes we're capturing them, but if we don't get them all in one go, the situation is complicated.
So Skyfall kind of hovers over the smoking volcano.
Well, Steel was changed. I mean, unless
At
there
the
was,
at the moment, it's hovering over Sky, or
Right.
over not over
Right.
over Skyfall. Skyfall is hovering over Skyfall. God.
Skyfall all the way down.
we broke the space-time continuum, and now we're hovering over ourselves.
And the blue box comes out of nowhere. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
but if there's nothing for them to head there for specifically, Steel changed course.
It's
to
the
head
center
to
of
Overmare.
all. It's the center of where all the dragons are.
Well, if Aurelia and
I mean, yes, you could
Abs-
make your stand just about anywhere, but this is the center. It's as good a place as any. Gold Rush doesn't actually change your bargaining position.
all right, fine. He will continue to hover over the center of the volcano.
Sorry.
Do any of you want to accompany Aurelia as she climbs up towards the crow's nest?
Are the
But wait,
is the rest of the crew
that's
getting
an
back?
option.
Is the rest of the crew up and?
Yeah, they're all recovering from Tiamat's terrifying presence now that you've discorporated her and scattered her to the winds.
Steel will hand the reins back over to the real driver and head up to where Aurelia is.
Is that a codeman? Is that a surprise codeman? With a microphone?
There may be a codeman. Anyway, I guess Javon suddenly realizes that it's possible to head up, and he's like, "Oh wait, I'll go too."
Realization that Javolta's heading up there in front of a throng of dragons. Tibbs is going to watch.
So is Tibbs going to watch from up there, or is he staying back, or what?
From back there, but up at the top.
At the top, but from also at a distance.
Yep.
Do we have a codeman? Oh, he's in the call so he can listen, but he can't talk. Okay. And he can type in the chat as well. Okay. So that's where that is. Alright. So, a good portion of you head up to the crow's nest with Aurelia, the wind howling as the dragons fly and screech all around. And Aurelia just holds up this scepter with a blood-red jewel within the top of it, and it shines, and all the dragons around you, these hundreds of dragons, also, their scales start to glow, including Vasuki standing next to Aurelia, who is looking very grumpy. And Aurelia just kind of waves the scepter around frantically, and the dragons all look with surprise down at the ship, at the tiny black, relatively to most of their scales, tiny black dragoness that is on top of this flying metal contraption. And they start to hover around, gather around, some of them perching on the volcano as sort of a listening platform.
Do any of them perch on the ship?
A couple do, actually. And the
All right,
metal
Javolta's
the metal
going
of
to
the
perch on-
the metal of the ship
Sorry.
groans under the weight, but still holds.
Javont is going to try to perch on one of the dragons that is perching on the ship.
It hisses at you.
That is a lot of dragons.
Hello, my name's Javont. Who are you?
It gathers fire in its breath, and Aurelia waves the scepter and goes, No, just, that's Javolt. He's annoying, I know, but, listen up for a second. Don't melt him.
I've been melted before. It was quite amusing, really.
Javolt, maybe shut
Maybe
up
it was
for
exploded.
more Javolt. We're staring
Javolt,
down death for,
you
the
just-
5th time today, and you can't shut up, Javolt?
Evolve, if you're really as intelligent as you claim, you should probably come down from there.
This is an experiment.
Hope springs eternal that Javolt will just get eaten. Says the chat.
I'd take bets on that.
2.5 years, 75 sessions. I mean, including the half sessions and parts. And Javolt just gets eaten. Shut up, please. Alright, so Aurelia now has a horde of dragons that are inexplicably sitting around to listen, and she says, okay, so you guys have been dead and gone for 200 years. The ponies and zebras were responsible for that, but I know. And then the dragons start roaring and breathing fire and great displays of power and strength. It looks like they're ready to take revenge. And Aurelia says, no, stop that, please. Okay. This scepter means I am your dragon lord, I think, right? Is that what that means? And Vasuki just grumbles, yes, you're dragon lord Aurelia now.
Congratulations on the promotion.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I get to deal with this crap. Okay. Look, I know you all want to kind of like, breathe fire on the ponies and whatnot, but the thing is, it's been 200 years and they kind of blew themselves up at the same time, and the descendants really don't deserve that, if we're being honest. And I know dragons don't really care about what they deserve, but consider this, they also have, like, freaky alicorns and laser guns and plasma guns and, weird types of magic and, guns, lots of guns, and really, really crazy ponies, and also minotaurs and donkeys and, ponies that can apparently survive every kind of disease, and, ponies that are like necromancers and liches, and
The point is, it's a new world.
yeah, and if we start a war, if we actually just literally start a war with ponies, they might win. Seriously, all the ponies I've met are freaking insane. Except Flotsam.
Is
Hello.
Watson... Okay.
So,
She just happens to be really cute and explosive.
and from the back, from the other side of the volcano, this very, very large dragon says, "But what about food? This world looks ruined and the ponies would make excellent food." And there's some very loud growls of approval about that. And Aurelia says, yeah, that's going to be kind of a problem, but that's a problem we're going to have to solve a different way, because, look, the world's changed, and it sucks that you guys have to just come back and just try and figure out how to survive in this, but we're not going to survive by starting another freaking... I mean, we're going to fight and kill some ponies. That's just going to happen. Some ponies are going to be buttholes and try and shoot us, and we're going to breathe fire on them, and that's just going to happen. And that's fine if they are that stupid. And
He's right, you know.
Some loud rumbling chuckles come from some of the older dragons. And Aurelia says, but we're going to have to figure something out, but the important thing is that you guys are back and you're alive. And that's what my uncles and aunts tried for 200 years to work towards. And you know what? We're just going to have to start fresh from there. And she just kind of waves the scepter around again and says, I'm the Dragon Lord and that's my decree. Right? That's how that works?
Honestly, Aurelia, you're the Dragon Lord now. I think it can work however you want it to work.
If it doesn't work how I want it to work, I've got about 600 angry dragons to object. So,
Wait, only 600?
I just throw a number out there. I can't count these.
You know, a dragon's census might be...
We're gonna have to get a head count or something, but
Well, you are Dragon Lord.
Assuming none of them have multiple
You
heads.
could decree a dragon census.
the same giant dragon from the back says, well, I don't want any ponies thinking they can just mess with us like they do the rest of the world. Hey, how about we do a big old flyover and show the ponies that the dragons are back again?
By flyover, do you mean literally just fly over?
Early,
Or are you going to do things like flame and chomping down and stuff?
a little bit of fire maybe, but not actually, starting anything, just breathing fire for show. Aurelia says,
Well.
maybe that would be okay. And immediately dragons start taking off. Aurelia's like, wait, but... and more of them start the ones that are old enough to fly, they start taking off in the sky and flying out across all
If
of
you
the
die,
wasteland.
we're not resurrecting you again.
Yeah, I would.
Well, yeah, no, you would just use their bodies as undead servants.
Nah.
For what it's worth, there's probably going to be I don't know, how many ponies do you think down there are going to be happy to see dragons flying around?
Well, there's the colts.
The ones that are alive.
A whole 6 of them.
Ooh, but Firelight Codeman is saying he kind of wants to follow. Like, that's something Firelight could potentially join in on.
Firelight the Drake pony could join up. Also, speaking of, Swift is also kind of hanging around and seems to be glowing as well. He's kind of undergone a sort of transformation. He looks a lot more pony than he's ever done, but he's also got a couple of draconic features remaining. But he looks more pony than he did before. And it seems
Hey,
he's
Swift, how are you feeling?
really weird. Like,
Is it a good weird?
I mean, I'm healthy, I guess. The doctor, Trigger checked me out and said everything was fine, but just suddenly I think all the hybrids just changed very suddenly.
Maybe because of the ritual. Probably because of the ritual.
Yeah. So those are real big dragons, huh?
She looks down at the
And I don't
dragons and looks back at Swift and goes, "Very observant, well done."
Is Javolt still perched on the
grins at
dragon?
Yeah, that dragon's still hanging off the side of the ship, and you're still sitting on its claw.
Mind if I get a better view? And he starts climbing the dragon.
He lifts his claw and tries to, however gently try and shake you off.
Should I roll to
No, just describe how you're staying on, or what you're doing in response.
Basically, using his claw and what his acrobatics, Javolt is going to be just trying to climb up the limb to somewhere, at least shoulders. on the dragon.
Aurelia looks at you and says, "Get down. He's not your personal stepladder."
Well, he was the closest dragon.
Did you
I mean,
did you ask
excuse me,
first?
You are male, right? I don't want to offend if you're not male.
He shakes you extra hard and tosses you back onto the crow's nest deck, and just
All right.
flies off.
Anyone else want to volunteer?
Flotsam just looks at him incredulously.
What?
Aurelia's looking
I
at
get
him.
to climb a dragon.
No, you really don't.
Dragons are not
This
there to be
person fought a
climbed on.
god and lived.
Javolt, you have survived through 7, 8 dragons now, and you really want your death to be plummeting from the back of a dragon who really didn't want to give you a ride.
And did not want to ask awkward questions like, "What gender are you?"
I missed it. What was it said that was what it didn't say?
It was just what it didn't say.
All I said was, this person fought a god and survived.
Okay.
To be fair, that's true of all of us, but
Well, if you guys are done pestering the dragons, I'm gonna go find my sister and my crocodile. She goes back inside.
Yeah, and
do
Aurelia.
any of the dragons notice the hybrids? Notice that?
Yeah, when
what-
Firelight goes up to fly amongst them, some of them give him a very awkward look. And Aurelia says, "Oh yeah, there are hybrids. It's been a really weird couple of weeks. Just roll with it. I'll call you all back and explain later. Just stay safe, all right?" And now dragons are flying over the hills and valleys and mountains, and in plain view of all of Equestria, there is a huge migration of dragons just flying across the world.
And
A flight of dragons!
Dun, dun, dun,
Javolt
dun.
gives Aurelia a look and says, "You told the dragons to stay safe."
I've only seen dragons get killed by a ragtag group of ponies.
I mean, fair point, but
I've seen worse than that. They were undead dragons that were like in command of incredibly powerful magics, and you just kind of wasted them. I helped you waste them.
it's just I don't think they quite get that concept yet.
You know, you have a point. For once in your life, you actually have a point. But, you know, I gotta say something.
Well,
Tempered.
at
Oh.
least this way, the idiots are called.
Tempered Steel is going to go
Yeah,
and give
great.
Aurelia.
Great, thanks for that really...
That did not come out right.
Tempered Steel is going to give Aurelia a firm congratulatory shoulder pat. You did good. I am certain that you will do great as the future Dragon Lord.
Vasuki grumbles, yeah, because I'm not more qualified or anything.
Seriously though,
Personality-wise, I'd say you're probably the best dragon that Equestria could have for the job right now.
Seriously though, Aurelia, I do think you did very well, and
I'm gonna have to keep doing that for the rest of my life, aren't I?
You can always pass it off on some other schmuck.
Ooh. No, I probably need to be the one to do this for a while. I know
yeah.
Mal's not gonna be interested.
But you're a
And,
dragon, so a while is a while is a long time, but probably not your entire life.
Well, just wait until you
There
learn
is-
about relegating duties.
Ooh, I
Figure that part
I can get like servants and stuff, right?
Yeah, I imagine
I'm
you could set up something like that.
basically a princess now.
yep.
That's not an inaccurate statement.
Actually, could you, are all the dragons going, or are just any of them staying behind?
Many of them are kind of settling down in various spots in the maw.
I mean, the cult at the very least is going to be no doubt happy to serve you now that you are Dragon Princess of Equestria.
You might want to get some bodyguards among those servants. I mean, I do hate to say it, but
Ponies are butts? Yeah.
and there may be some other dragons who would be willing to do
Well, I don't know. I mean,
assassinations.
I mean,
I mean,
Glaurung and all of them, the whole ritual was, to make me even more resilient, even for a dragon, so that when I hatched and I was fully grown, I could just go on a tear throughout all of Equestria. So I can probably, take some hits.
Plus,
yes. But
Carolina-
the whole point of assassination is to wait until
I know what
you are not.
I know what an assassination is and how it works, Javolt.
I'm just saying, you've got a bunch of dragons not doing anything, and no,
plus
you're right. I'm being paranoid.
you've got Firelight. I'm sure he can lend a hand. I mean,
Firelight went off on the migration.
Well, yeah, but
No, I
you can
think
still talk
In
about it.
general.
Flying around, he'll probably be back in short order.
Maybe I can start asking these dragons about dragons. Advisory council. That might be a good idea.
If I have an advisory council, Javolt, I'm sorry, you're not going to be on it.
We don't need to solve all this right now. For the moment,
You know what? Yeah,
We
I'm
can just
actually
quit.
feeling just very tired right now.
Can maybe order the dragons to answer any question I have for them? Out of
No!
curiosity?
No!
It was worth a shot. And Javolt sort of elbows her like I wasn't actually serious.
I have a quick question. Is there an intercom channel open to wherever Aurelia is?
Yeah, there's one at the very top of the ship.
It crackles to life and Flotsam says, "Hey guys, this is just a reminder to Javolt, stop it." And then it crackles off again.
She's getting to know me too well.
You need to stop being so predictable, mate.
we're all getting to know you far, far too well.
So Firelight has just specified that he's just kind of flying around with the dragons. He hasn't actually gone off very far, so he's within community. He can be recalled if need be. But with that major detail more or less sorted and the future ahead, I think this.
Maybe we should check in to see if Astaroth survived this. I mean,
Oh yeah. Amongst the dragons that are lingering around the rocky cliffs of the volcano, you see two very large dragons, one sort of a silver gray and one a deep blue, kind of together, and the silver one seems to have in its claws a very, very tiny dragonling.
Oh.
Do we recognize them at all?
No, why would you? Why would you? I mean, the dragonling looks kind of familiar because it seems to have the same color scheme as that Astaroth did. But
I forget? God, it sounds weird to say I forget about something that happened so recently, but so much has happened. Didn't Astaroth have statues of her parents?
there
She
were
had
some
statues.
skeletons in the entrance hall of her museum.
Okay, I suppose we wouldn't recognize them from skeletons. Okay, never mind. I forgot that the
They look
statues
like
were
they might
skeletons.
have some kind of a similar shape to them.
Javon turns to Aurelia and says, could you maybe use that scepter to call Astaroth if she's out there?
I think we know where Astaroth is.
I mean, do we know in character?
I mean, I'm telling you what you're seeing.
Aurelia is telling you in character.
Not totally in character, but
So that's Astaroth. Okay. Does she? Do you think she remembers the whole being a lich for who knows how long?
since she's a baby now, I'm gonna guess. I don't know. Vasuki kind of.
Not yet.
Vasuki says,
It wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know. She was at the center of that whole thing. I don't even know. We talked about this. What would happen to us when the spell went off? And I mean, for us who were like doing the lich thing, it was always kind of like, rolling the dice, see what was gonna happen. We didn't really know what was gonna happen. And you killed. I mean, Glaurung through Ormar. They're not coming back probably. And you guys brought me back. But Astaroth was at the center of it. Like, she was at, well, ground zero when the ritual went off. So I guess if she was there, she would have gotten, like, totally reborn? Just like...
You do know Ormar is still alive, right?
In data, yes, I know. But I'm talking about, like, the actual living part.
I'm just surprised that Pasuki isn't taking this opportunity to gloat that now she's technically bigger than Astaroth. Not by much.
That's
She-
a little too dramatic.
She suddenly, her eyes suddenly widen, and she gets an evil grin on her face and starts.
On the other hand, Vasuki got resurrected as a juvenile dragon, and all the other dragons got resurrected to full adult size.
Well, to the size they were when they were alive.
Which means that.
There are some
Vasuki-
babies, but they're hiding behind their parents.
Quick question, Fasuki. What's the likelihood that any of these dragons are going to stumble over your hoard?
Unlikely because they'd have to tunnel through a lot of the earth.
Well, I mean,
But magically,
have-
I need to update my locks.
yeah, you might want to get on that.
She glares up at Aurelia and says, "Good luck, Dragon Lord," and climbs down the hatch.
And that's one potential usurper taken care of temporarily.
Why? Aurelia just looks at you and says, "Why are you trying to weed out usurpers? Like, I've been Dragon Lord for 5
Because I
minutes
want
and
you
you're
to
already
live a
trying
long
to...
and happy life.
I've been Dragon Lord for 5 minutes and you're already trying to be like the shadowy figure behind the throne. You realize that.
Why are you trying to make
You're-
sense
you're-
of anything
you-
Behold does?
You are not going to be my vizier.
Oh, I never said I was.
That's what you're doing right now.
I prefer confidant.
Javol,
Most trusted
Javol.
advisor.
I love you like a crazy uncle, but you are never going to be involved in any of my decision-making. You are insane, Donkey. And now that this is over, I could just say that. You are crazy.
I was stopping you saying it before. The rest of us did.
Not as emphatically before, so that, I don't know, I wouldn't come off as insulting?
So if I randomly decided to steal something from you, you wouldn't do anything to stop me because you wouldn't let me influence your decision making?
Trying to game me like that? would get you burnt to a crisp automatically.
The intercom crackles to life again. This is another daily reminder, just in case the first one didn't take. Seriously, Javolt, no. Turns off again.
Daily. Shouldn't it be minutely?
I'm beginning to wonder whether that's flotsam or... Never mind.
Seriously, Javolt.
Javolt, you should go find your sister so she can keep tabs on you and keep you from doing something stupid.
Like that's ever worked before.
We can only hope and dream.
Come here.
And pray. You forgot pray.
Aurelia spreads her claws and says, "One more time. It's over, guys."
Well, that all went better than expected. What a shame.
You know,
I'm gonna
it may
head down
be
to the
over,
brig
but
and get
for
some
the moment,
slime.
I'm still going to continue to enjoy this view and this post-mission, this post-quest peaceful view.
Gonna bask in the glow still.
View in the glow of what?
Afterglow.
Don't worry.
Anyway.
Oh,
Weaver got it. Good enough.
I got it.
Everybody got it.
actually, I should go start checking on things inside Skyfall.
It took a bit of damage, yeah.
I mean, I want to stay and climb some more dragons, but
They
I have
won't
to
let
be the
you.
mature adult for once. And Javolt walks down.
Wait. Did Javolt just realize he could be a mature adult? Did that possibility cross his mind?
Wire must have been
So-
crossed.
Javolt's first action is to walk down to Mayor Chase.
I now that things are kind of, the story is kind of ending, things have kind of been resolved, and the path to the future is set, I kind of want to kind of scale back from, like, role-playing the immediate action, and I kind of want to, because
Well, Javolt is going to ask Chase for the packet that he gave him.
what was the packet?
He hung back and gave him a packet of papers before they went off to the final battle.
Sure, yeah, you can get those back.
Need to do some editing. Some of this is no longer valid. And without any other explanation, he walks off.
What are those papers? I completely
Oh,
forgot.
it's his will.
Oh, it's his will, that's right. Okay,
Yes, I actually did write up his will at some point.
right. Okay, so what happens in, like, the immediate future, that's, you know, that we could be role-playing that until, you know, the heat of the universe, but I kind of want to scale ahead and talk about sort of, decide what the long-term future of, you know, in the sort of style of Fallout's, like Fallout New Vegas is ending. Talk about everything you've done and what's going to end up being the future of the places and people you've visited. And for, you know, you guys to talk about how your characters are going to end up in the future. So, starting with, I guess, from the top, Flame Tongue. Remember Flame Tongue? The town at the beginning of the campaign?
Yeah, some of
Yeah.
our stuff is still there.
Say what? Your stuff is
We
still
left some of our stuff there.
Yes.
I have some tin cans and broken laser gun parts that Flotsam wants to pick up, damn it.
Oh man,
Wait,
there's
wait.
no way that those haven't been looted by now.
Wait,
And there was the
Bam.
algae explosion.
That's before we enter the maw, right? Flame Tongue?
Yeah, that it's like there's, you know, that one canyon path, Flame Tongue Pass, and Flame Tongue basically is sitting right in front of
Oh
that.
no, it was Gold Rush all my stuff was in. Probably
In the
still been
can.
looted. Where else am I going to get broken tin cans from?
Would is
Alright. Blue Moon's tent's whole stash of everything. We need to go back there and loot it properly.
also side note, did we have am I incorrect that we still have 29,000 golden gems that we had to divide up?
I think you gave some of that to Opportunity to.
I thought the 29k was after we gave some to Opportunity.
You're all very rich. I think we can agree on that. That at the end of all this, you guys have.
Excellent. I'm buying a force field.
Oh yeah, that's right. Flotsam wanted to find some tech to help out Hayditch.
You best believe I will be doing that. That's the entire reason she came out here.
Alright.
I'm gonna buy a pony! Wait.
Sorry. I guess starting in chronological order is kind of misguided because Flametongue's not exactly high on everybody's priority list in terms of what happens to it.
I still want to know what happens to Flametongue.
Well,
We want to go back there and say, I'm sorry about your bar.
You've paid them back in full, and if we're being honest, then some. So they're happy. I mean, they're going to get a bit less business now that prospectors don't really need to be a thing anymore. But anyway, so I guess like the biggest thing, the reaction of the world to dragons is about what you'd expect. The ponies are immediately sort of in awe and terrified at there being just a ton of fire-breathing dragons in the world again. And over time it's made clear that, the Badlands are their home, but there's not a whole lot of food go around in the Badlands, so eventually most of the dragons sort of break off and migrate off to kind of beyond the shores of Equestria to search for a different homeland that can actually, sustain them with enough, food and space to accompany them, because, most of Equestria is a wasteland. And that's a process that happens over the next, many years. Zenkarn, you pretty shortly after your experience with Tiamat, you gained the means to eventually make yourself a lich. A proper lich.
Yay.
And do you have any ideas about like what your phylactery is like and where you put it?
I've had one, and I didn't know if you liked it or not.
Oh right, yeah, you sent me one, but
No, actually, I've sent you two, and neither of them you liked.
I mean, I kind of had criticisms.
Sorry, choking. Give me 5 minutes and I'll work it out.
All right.
I'm kind of dying. Sorry.
Yeah, you're kind of sick today. Let's see. Firelight, I know. Based on the notes he gave me, his plan is to gather up all the good remnants of the cult of Tiamat, and kind of turn the cult of Tiamat into sort of kind of a sister organization to the followers of the apocalypse, but make them the followers of dragons, with their main goal being to kind of be supporters of the dragons in this, wasteland world, making sure they get what they need. And Firelight ends up living for quite a while because of his new draconic form. All the hybrids do. They have increased lifespans. They still die from taking too much damage and all, but Firelight, manages to live for quite a long time and ends up traveling with dragons a lot, especially Aurelia and Malachite, and as they grow up, Astaroth and Vasuki, traveling across the land, protecting and healing those who need it, and on occasion just burning down random abandoned buildings just to watch the fire, blow up all pretty. Javolt, how do you see Weaver, how do you see Javolt's future going from here?
Good question. Lots now.
I mean, you probably got lots of ideas, but what would be the most likely sort of outcome, or what questions do you have that I could help to fill in the gaps? Because we're crafting the epilogue here.
Javolt is going to use his contacts with Monitor and Skyfall and Oromar to start establishing a contact network of some sort throughout Equestria, so he can keep tabs on everything. And essentially, if he hears about big threats, he'll try to send appropriate adventurers.
Well,
at them.
it's hard. It's hard to establish that sort of network because while the tech that Monitor and Oromar use are pretty impressive, they're also very localized, and it's hard to spread. You find it challenging, very challenging, to
That's
spread
why
that.
he uses science. He's going to bring Raven in to help make some flying speaker things
You
or
mean
something. Satellites,
you mean
but he uses this complicated terminology because he's Javolt.
Javolt becomes the NSA? Great, Javolt becomes everybody's nosy uncle forever.
Yeah.
He's
at,
now
at some point in the future, he's going to upload himself to a computer system just so that somebody will keep an eye on Zenkarn, you know? Keep Zenkarn from going evil.
You think that'll be
That's
the
what Cheek is for.
Well, you know,
you think
not just Zenkarn, but
would Javolt
other
would
people,
Javolt
like some-
choose that to upload himself? Would that be his ultimate fate?
eventually, yeah.
Eventually, yeah. And Raven probably won't make that choice. As much as she loves you and supports you in your endeavors, I think she'll be ready to move on.
Her death probably is what motivates him to upload in the end.
All right. And your attempts to create a network are moderately successful. You help, there's construction that needs to be done, and you're successful in bringing some infrastructure back to the wasteland. But not. It's still kind of vulnerable. Raiders love nothing more than to break stuff, especially when civilization depends on it. But over the years, your stuff starts staying up longer, and not everybody accepts having systems that can watch and listen in on them. But in terms of actually building communications facilities, so that ponies can talk to each other across long distances more reliably.
On the plus side, Javolt gets to lecture generations on the powers of science.
You do attempt to do some lecture tours across Equestria, although you aren't invited back to a location particularly frequently. You tend to speak in one town and then aren't invited back for a very long time. But the kids love you. I mean, they love your style and your stage presence.
And of course, he tries to make sure that any artificial life forms are treated equally, but that's just
it takes a while before any non homicidal or ponycidal, I guess, sentient life forms pop up around other parts of Equestria. But you do champion for their rights when they come up. You don't. It's not easy. Plenty of ponies are skeptical about rogue AI systems and what to do with them. But you're always the voice that stands for them when that comes up. And you do get kind of a fan club.
Part of me is wondering whether they just wear lab coats or cut off their legs to make themselves cyborgs.
There was one pony who did, and that was a mistake. There was that you have that one guy in your fan club who is just kind of ridiculous.
That crazy Javolt fanboy.
Oh well. Also, he opens a dating service now.
Okay. I think that's enough for Javolt.
Strangely enough, I could actually see Javolt doing that.
Shipping. What? No, we're not going to send it across the maw.
Shipping. Okay. Tempered Steel. I honestly don't know. What do you think his future will be like? I mean, he found his long-lost brother a while back.
Well, he wasn't really looking for his long-lost brother, though. So
that's fine.
I've got a few things in mind. Most of them are shorter term. The first thing he's going to do is he's going to retrieve those pages, the Tales from the Equestria Wasteland, chronicling his first-person account of the whole. Whole series. Then
you're gonna try writing a book.
Yeah. Well, he's going to finish that, detailing the final, and then once detailing how it end, basically to that basically up to when the party actually goes their separate ways, then he's going to hand it back off to the same couple at the library and pay for them to get it copied, so a copy of it can be taken to each of the libraries.
The followers of dragons, as they will soon be called, will probably have printing presses that you can use.
Well, he'll see to it.
The printing press makes a return.
He'll see. I mean, the first thing he will do is see to it that book is finished and that a copy of it is gotten to each of the towns, so that it is preserved for future generations to read about.
Well, yeah, you're still going to need mainly the printing press for that.
Well, actually, he could see about Firelight taking care of that, seeing as Firelight is the one who is the fan of the printing press and was focused on that. Although Codeman is asking, wait, where are we getting? He's getting a printing press, and I think he was thinking that those were destroyed when the cathedral blew up.
I mean, not the entire
the technology.
It's just a mini nuke went off in the central chamber, but the printing.
Yeah, that's small potatoes.
The entire cathedral didn't get completely obliterated.
Okay, so the printing presses survived.
Yeah, they were in the back or in the basement or somewhere where the blast didn't quite get to them.
Well, he'll see about someone making sure that book, and I imagine that wouldn't take too long.
What about?
It feels weird asking about some of the items that are left over and what happens to them. Like the Cloak of Useful Items. Does Steele get to hold on to that, or gets that?
I don't know. I mean, you guys basically never used it, so I figured it doesn't really matter. It is a thing.
Okay.
It does not have some grand story behind it that demands a conclusion.
Fair enough. Well, in the grand scheme of things, Steele will see about if he can, with the expectation that Butters is going to stay with Zenkarn. He's going to see if he can recruit another love cat to join with him and in his future quest.
You can recruit one so easily that you've got a bunch of them fighting for the honor. Not literally fighting, but there's you might have to conduct interviews.
They live in your beard.
He will get Butters to help. He will see if he can get Butters to help him pick out the best candidate for that.
Sure.
Okay, and then he will go on a new quest inspired by the rejuvenation of that farming plot with those ashes or whatever it was, to find something in hopes of finding a way of restoring the land of Equestria to a non-wasteland state. And also...
You're going to go hunting for the gardens of Equestria?
What?
You're going to go hunting for the gardens of Equestria project? Basically?
I suppose that'd be an easy way of putting it, but for anything that would have an equivalent effect, so he can try and... He's seen that it can be done, so he's on a quest to do it for the rest of the wasteland.
How, though? And this is always the question with Tempered Steel. Noble goal, but how do you pursue it, or you just generally pursue it?
He doesn't have a necessary plan in mind, but finding out how to do it is part of his quest to make it happen.
Sit down and chat with the Lightbringer?
Well,
I think you might go seeking out some of the other movers and shakers in the wasteland and offering your help.
And while he's at it, he will try and establish contacts so that if Zenkarn in fact does go full-on Evil Lich, he'll be able to assemble a party to go stop him.
For the love, really? You know what? At this point, fine. I am going to turn evil and kill everyone out of spite.
Come on, guys. We're in the epilogue now. The joke has run its course. But we'll get to what Zenkarn's future is. So you just kind of continue doing the adventuring thing. I take it.
And who knows? Depending on how Flotsam feels about it, maybe initially head out. Depending on how Flotsam.
You figure you just keep doing that into your old age?
Yeah.
Do you think you die on the battlefield, or do you think you eventually retire?
I don't know. I feel like that's something that it's like one of those things that I feel like I don't want to say definitively which happens.
In case we end up deciding
not
it later.
necessarily that, but like, I mean, there's part of me that wants to leave it open-ended.
All right, yeah, I think that's all right. Tempered Steel, after the events of all this, wanders somewhere else in search of more adventures, in search of more justice.
Yes, and depending on how Flotsam Dally feels about it, maybe upon initially leaving the Maw, he goes with her to
Haditch
before heading out in his own direction.
He's welcome to. She doesn't need the help because she'll probably have enough people with her, but she's not going to stop him if he wants to do that.
Fair enough.
All right. So there we have an idea of Tempered Steel's future. Since you brought it up, Dally, how about we talk about what happens to Flotsam and Haditch?
Okay, well, first things first. Sorry, I got kind of a few things.
Yeah, go for it. Hit me.
Well, before she goes back to Haditch, she does want to, go around the mall and say goodbye to the people she met and befriended.
You are basically treated like a celebrity. Everybody loves Flotsam.
But yeah, she's kind of.
You all are really, I should say, in the most immediate future. Just about everybody likes you. You guys did save the Maw.
But yeah, she's like, she'll ask Lilypad if she wants the Pip Buck back, since it was kind of to help them on their journey in the Dragon's Maw, and she wants to know if the Steel Rangers want it back.
Lilypad kind of does. I mean, they may be, sort of the Applejack's Rangers faction now, but they're still Steel Rangers, and they want to consolidate that a bit. But Lilypad also
blueprints first.
Lilypad also says you can't really make blueprints for a Pip-Buck. They are extremely complicated machines.
She just grins and says, "Sounds like a challenge."
And also, Lilypad says, if I will say though, in light of everything you've done, if you want to keep it, you can just take it. I don't think anyone's going to come asking for it very soon.
Cool, I'll keep it then. Thank you. But yeah, she goes around, Steel Rangers. Basically makes sure that Summer Snow is okay with maybe just kind of saying goodbye to everyone.
Oh, she absolutely is. She basically clings onto you like
blowing this popsicle stand.
She basically clings onto you like very protective older sister, making sure you don't go flying off on like one last mega adventure again.
She is quite clearly had enough of adventures for now. So yeah, she says goodbye to the folks at Radio Crackle. She says goodbye to the friends she made at the Four Horses, like Mort and the others. She says goodbye to Golden Crown. She says goodbye to Short Circuit. I'm also going to say she says goodbye to Revy and Spectacle on the way out of the mall past Greenfield. And to each of them she says, if you're ever in the Haditch area, look us up. She will actually ask Tibbs if he can show her how to make that chemically treated paper for sending messages before she leaves.
Tibbs will show her how to make it and how to get how specifically to what she needs to get to make the chemicals that can brew it.
And if that's okay with you, Spud, she learns how to do that so she can just kind of keep in touch with people.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
If that's all right.
That's perfectly all right. Yeah.
Cool. What else? Yeah, she's goes back to the vault, the stable, where the changelings and the love cats are. She sees if they're still up for coming to Haditch and making a future there.
Yeah. In fact, that party actually already left us some time ago. But
they did? Okay.
And when they arrive in Haditch, the residents there are very surprised, but they also bring many offerings of tech and supplies, so they are somewhat welcome.
Did they take the Securitron with them?
They did take a couple of Securitrons.
The Securitrons, one of them is named Clank Jr.
That's fine.
The other one is named Rusty.
Things are a bit tight for a while because more people means, needing more supplies, and Haditch is in a pretty alright area, but resources are strained for a little while. But then, there's sort of a breakthrough, and with the high security and very rather special residents there, offering different trades and whatnot. Haditch becomes pretty quickly a much more major town and trading hub. A lot more traders come in.
Excellent.
And with the Securitrons helping out against raiders and the cyber changelings and love cats, certainly making things interesting.
Flotsam, before she leaves, does basically have like a chat with Chase and Silver Wrench and some of the other medics in Skyfall, and kind of learn as much as she can about the security systems.
Eventually, you can get a force field for Haditch as well.
Sweet. But yeah, she basically learns all she can from the Skyfall technology.
Flotsam becomes basically an expert in advanced tech and magic in a certain sense.
Good. There is one. Get to Haditch in a second, but the one last thing she does before she leaves the mall is she tells Craggy exactly what happened and how they came about finding him, and asks if he would like to go free and just be his own gator in the mall.
Craggy is saddened by this,
she says that he can come with her if he wants to, but he doesn't have to.
Craggy eventually decides in his Craggadile manner that he would like to stay and kind of live out his Craggadile life.
She's quite sad.
He starts to get too big for her anyway.
She's quite sad, but she gives him a kiss on the forehead and says to say hi to Locust for her if he sees her, and that she might come back and visit someday.
Craggy responds back in a way that suggests that you are, despite everything, you are still welcome, and that he won't bite you if he sees you.
She is very grateful. And then they head back to Haditch, and I'm thinking, there's some mechanics there, there's some medical professionals, there's a teacher, they're willing to, train up the changelings and lovecats in skills that they don't have, and learn skills that, the changelings and lovecats have that they don't. So there's a lot of exchanging of information and skills, and Flotsam for a long time is very much set on building defenses for the town, and Summer, Snow, and some of the others will be set on, as well as guarding the town, also expanding it. So basically there's a lot more scavenging going on for materials and tech.
Yeah, and like I said, so the sort of path of that is that for a few years there's sort of a struggle to get, to meet the increased demand. But then there's a breakthrough when trade starts happening more and more, and
basically you'll kind of come together for that and work through it as a community. I'm thinking. And Flotsam basically, she's not given up on the idea of journeying out again entirely, but she is happy to stay at home for a good long while.
I imagine that when something big comes up, Flotsam is ready if she's needed.
Yeah, she's basically the mechanics person, and she helps a lot with the defenses and goes out and blows up raiders or slavers if they become an issue. But in the meantime, as soon as she gets home, she hugs Oak and Greengrass and Snow for a long time and doesn't let go for it.
Every so often you get some visitors who start off by saying they're from the remnants of the Enclave and wish to see Flotsam.
Right. The other thing I was going to do was Flotsam was going to basically tell Oak and Greengrass and Snow, for what she didn't hear about it, exactly what happened. And basically sound out Oak for how he'd feel about her having a relationship with her biological father.
And he says if that's what makes you happy.
So she's kind of tentatively amenable to that. So if there are Enclave remnants, she will see them.
Mm-hmm. And it's a very awkward and a strange relationship, but you manage to keep in touch with Jasper, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Your biological...
She's a lot less certain about Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose is also a lot less certain about you, but you manage to maintain a sort of polite acquaintanceship.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I can think of.
Yeah, I think that ties things up for Flotsam.
Mm-hmm.
Zenkarn. You become a lich, and then what? Oh, and your phylactery, you said you privately... Oh, he's having a coughing fit. Alright, he's gonna type that up. He is really sick, apparently. Din, let's talk about Tibbs.
Okay. So, Tibbs is honestly going to just sort of split off from the group. He's gonna
say his farewells and
specifically just let the others know that he has some unfinished business in other parts of the Wasteland.
He's got his business after all.
Yeah, he does have his business. I mean, he has to at some point pick up an apprentice to torture and pass along his knowledge on.
Maybe less the torture. I mean, it's Tibbs, but
it's uncomfortable learning.
Not as bad as Tibbs' mentor, I would hope.
Probably not. But it's still unpleasant because hey, that's all that Tibbs has known, so it's not
learn the hard way or not at all.
And then he's going to, once he has trained that apprentice satisfactorily, or in a satisfactory manner. I don't know if what I said was a word. Once he's satisfied with how he's trained his apprentice, he'll send them off, send a letter to Taupe in Brisbane, and simply says that the business is hers now, and then he will succumb to the radiation poisoning that he has been gathering throughout this journey.
Yeah, Firelight will very much make an attempt to get Tibbs to say to help out with logistics with the followers of dragons and whatnot, but he can't really force you to say, and Tibbs doesn't really want to.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tibbs is not terribly interested in helping.
Firelight practically begs you to stay.
Tibbs' only response to that would be, "You're a much smarter pony than I, so you can figure it out."
Tibbs goes his separate ways, and next time anybody hears from him, they hear that he, at the very least, passed away quietly.
Can I add a thing?
Yeah.
Flotsam had every so often been sending him a message. One day she doesn't get one back. And then she knows.
Yep.
Someone...
Azure, as some people in the chat have said, he just kind of dies while he's just walking the wasteland, basically in a ditch.
Not in a ditch, just he's sick, but still traveling. He sets up his resting spot and goes to sleep and doesn't get back up.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, some travelers stumble upon his corpse and take what they can for supplies, because it's still the wasteland, and try and pass along to, the message of who he was and what happened to him, and that's how eventually the rest of the Maulers get the confirmation that Tibbs passed away.
Yep.
Tibbs, are you dead?
And there's no response because yes, Steel, he's dead. What were you expecting?
I'm sorry, I had to get that in one last time.
Ironically, it's Steel that comes across Tibbs' body.
Azure, he'd take enough painkillers to make it through the day. That would be about it. Tibbs actually kind of sees the radiation poisoning as not as a blessing or anything, but as a poetic justice, because the one thing he basically never forgave himself for was killing his ghoul friend, and hey, radiation poisoning is
ironic, yeah.
It's fit. It's
fitting.
Cozy getting her revenge.
Well, that's all.
It's Fallout. Not everything ends nicely, as much as I would really like it to. But I think it's as fitting as end as one could hope for. Zenkarn has typed up his summary to me. and I'll go ahead and read it straight up. Instead, Karn will say his goodbyes on Skyfall, Chase, Diamond Dogs, rest of the party, Tibbs with a bent of I'll miss having you around, I'll make sure to visit. Flotsam, I couldn't have done this without you, super glad we met, kinda bent. What? Super glad we met, kinda bent? What is that sentence there?
Don't worry. Blah. Don't worry. Just, I'm typing things. Don't pay too much attention.
Okay. Before retiring to his room to make his phylactery out of his bone helmet, and then his next stop would be Chica's stable. He looks for a guard, a changeling one in particular. He pokes him and says, they say, "What do you want?" "I demand an audience with the queen. She owes me lunch." After that, he chats with Aurelia to see if he can take over the, Nidhogg, the zombie dragon's old lair, and Aurelia says, sure, fine. Although some other dragons also, try and take up residence there, though they're eventually creeped out by all the bones and whatnot that are just kind of sitting around. He studies the dragon's longevity. Maybe start a magic school, chat to Death, keep in contact with Death and whatnot. More of the magic ponies that he's met over the course of this. Tries his best to keep in contact and keep an ear out for what's going on with everyone, but generally keeps to himself and his magical peers. And over the years, as they drop off or whatever, he builds kind of little shrines to them for his fallen comrades, those that he misses. And that's what Zenkarn's. That's what Cuteless has written down. Gosh, of the PC epilogues, I chose kind of the two more somber ones to end on. Whoops. Powder Keg, what everyone's been clamoring to hear about, almost immediately has a child has a foal with Blinky, and they stay in Skyfall for a while, just sort of getting their family started and running Skyfall's central shop. Weaver asked, did he wear the dress? No. In fact, it takes some doing to have Javolt even allowed to attend the wedding at all. Did Powder wear the wedding dress? No, I know what the question was. Why are you guys all typing? I'm not on a monologue. I'm practically making this up as I go along.
Don't know. I'm just enthralled, okay?
Okay. But yeah, that was also a joke from way back, so didn't expect people to really, really want that to make a comeback. But I can say that Javolt probably did try to get Powderkeg to wear the dress, and Blinky jokingly went along for it, jokingly in her stoic way. But no, they get married, they have a foal, they stay in Skyfall for a while. Eventually, they kind of move from town to town. Powderkeg still kind of, even though his lust for revenge against raiders and the executive is more than satisfied. He still has kind of a desire to travel some wanderlust, and Blinky is happy to go along with that. And through their travels, Powderkeg is very protective of his family, even causing a couple of incidents. But he manages to see his family through the next decade and just lives a kind of chaotic but happy life. And his kid is a real troublemaker. I mean, after all, his dad blew up a god. And that kind of covers the PCs. In terms of like the locations of the Maw in general and factions within it, Flametongue kind of sees a drop in business for a while because they're no longer. The word goes out pretty quickly that with the dragons back, there's no real need for prospectors. The hordes aren't just sitting around with curses protecting them for go-getters to, loot and stake their claim. And after all, the Maulers are the ones who got most of the loot. So Flametongue kind of sees a drop in business for a while, until Gold Rush actually brings more trade and prosperity to the Maw. Speaking of, Gold Rush, suffers even worse than Flametongue from the lack of ponies searching in this section of the Wasteland. and all the ponies that live there are just, ponies who were stuck there and couldn't see anywhere else to live. Thankfully, all the infrastructure that the executive poured into it meant there was plenty of living room, but without the executive's, illegal business going through, they suffered kind of an economic crisis for a while. Until Scarlet Shawl's greenhouse and later on farm started really making returns. The sort of bone dust that Nidhogg had granted them, that Scarlet Shawl was making use of to bless the land, was very, very effective. And Scarlet Shawl was able to create much more farmland and really start making a great deal of food for not just Gold Rush, but for, a great surplus, a great bounty, just turning that desert into fairly usable farmland. And that caused prosperity to return to Gold Rush again, as they were now kind of a farm town. They were responsible for selling food to the, Maw and beyond, to support all the ponies who were no longer rushing headlong into their deaths. And so Flametongue and Gold Rush remain towns and don't do what I kind of feared would happen, which was wither away from, the lack of economic supply. The Steel Rangers, going kind of in counterclockwise order, kind of make contact with the rest of the Applejacks Rangers in the rest of the Equestrian Wasteland. And their station kind of struggles for relevancy for a while. Most of the soldiers there sort of transfer out as the conflict with the main Steel Rangers continues. But there's still, monitoring and research and protection to be done for the ponies and dragons living there. The Steel Rangers kind of become one of the few groups that the dragons actually respect because of their sheer strength and firepower. There are very few creatures that fire breath won't just immediately burn to a crisp, and Steel Rangers are one of them. So they still have a presence in the Maw as sort of, protectors, very strong protectors. Radio Crackle Tower continues to be the number one source of radio in the Maw. Smack Talk stays the DJ for quite a while, although as he grows up, he kind of gets tired of it a bit, and so he hires some new blood to kind of rotate shifts with him so that he's not trying to broadcast 18 hours a day. When he was younger, he could make that happen, but as he got older, he was like, I can't do this all day, every day. And he's constantly on the search for new music. He just amasses a huge, huge music collection as much as he can. He makes some trips to Tenpenny Tower and whatnot. Tenpony Tower. I forget the name of it in the main fic, but
Tenpony, yeah.
Yeah, Tenpony.
Quick note, if Flotsam ever comes across any new music from Hayditch becoming more of a trading hub, she'll see if someone can send it Smack Talk's way.
Certainly, and he definitely tries to keep in contact with Flotsam and whatnot. He even tries to get some broadcast tower, some relay towers built so he can broadcast to Hayditch, which is a long ways away, but he makes the attempt.
Flotsam will attempt to help. And
he does visit pretty often when he can catch a break.
Oh, Flotsam is glad to see him.
Skyfall becomes, over the years, kind of almost legendary as one of the last remaining, cloud ships, functioning cloud ships. And very powerful one at that. Chase fights pretty hard to maintain it as an independent entity, although he eventually kind of aligns himself with God and the sort of equestrian council that's forming after Little Pip's adventure, as sort of a peacekeeping device, but also a town in and of itself. He tries to stay neutral where he can, but the ship is always there, ready to help out should anything really big come its way. Eventually some of the text breaks down because it was experimental when it was first built, and it's been held together with duct tape and prayers for most of its operational time, and eventually the ship settles down and doesn't get back in the air again. But it still remains a town with a great deal of tech residing in it, and Chase confusingly remains the mayor for a very long time, despite wishes to step down, but he just keeps getting reelected in write-ins. Because apparently people think he's just really good at his job. Until eventually he just moves to a different town under a different name and becomes another standard guard.
I just imagine the reasoning being, no, Chase, you have to stay in charge. What if the molars come back?
Is it wrong of me that a part of me is like, oh, the position just becomes Chase? It's like whoever takes up the mantle becomes Chase.
Yeah, as soon as he leaves and disappears, they elect their new Chase, and come up with actually like documents, almost kind of a Bible of the tenets of Chase.
I might
of how to
need to mention that Javol actually worked on programming an artificial assistant into Skyfall specifically for Chase, and did it in secret. It was meant to be in the will, but
Chase just wakes up one day to, "Good morning, sir." Oh God, no! What did Javol do?
I'll roll with that. Yeah, kind of contributes to him trying to get away, but I can't help but imagine like somehow one of the robots.
The assistant is named Leah.
One of the robots uploads part of that personality and just follows Chase around. So now he has just this permanent robot buddy.
I spy a spin-off.
if someone wants to write that, sure. Let's see. The Four Horses. A lot of the members sort of disband once it's clear that they're not making as much profit as they used to as sort of, raiders with an ironclad grip on an entire region. But quite a few ponies still stay in each of the four tribes, and they become a very sort of close-knit group of, traditionalist warriors and herbalists and animal caretakers and doctors and magicians and especially necromancers. And they kind of keep mainly to the Maw as being sort of another group of protectors and supporters. But word starts to spread of the Four Horses tribes that possess incredible primal knowledge, and the ponies that lead them. Conquest runs the War Tribe for many years to come, and the War Tribe is known as despite not being as armored as the Steel Rangers, they're known as a very honorable and very dedicated and very skilled group of mercenaries. Locust and the Famine Gang, or Famine Tribe, they help kind of tame and use the creatures of the Maw and beyond to try and remove those threats and domesticate them and try and put them to work, as either companions or even guards, if the case may be. And they help with managing, distributing food as well. The Pestilence Gang they all kind of spread out to the various settlements of the Maw and become very, very well-known doctors. And the Death Tribe mainly hangs around kind of in the general area where Zenkarn eventually sets up shop and studies the magic of the dragons and the secrets of death and whatnot. Eventually, Death himself says goodbye to Zenkarn and passes from this world, saying there's really only needs to be this world doesn't have enough room for the both of us.
No.
One lich is fine, two liches can be worrying. But you've gained enough skill that at least someone here has some mastery over death. But it's time for me to get back in the flow of things.
Thank you.
Done very well, Zenkarn. I won't ask you to lead the gang. I've got somebody in mind for that, but
Bones?
yeah, actually.
He'll do a good job.
I'll be a very tough act to follow, but the world's starting to get better, and it doesn't need those who can stop death as much.
Maybe not.
Well, I think that'll be for you to see. And he is not heard from again. Pestilence eventually dies as well, not from any disease he subjected himself to, but just from old age. He's been alive for a very long time. And the Four Horses tribes, despite their legendary leaders passing and their stories being passed down, for a couple of generations to come, the Four Horses tribals survive and maintain their reputation as a very specialized group in the Wasteland. Ribcage just kind of remains Ribcage, if we're being honest. It's now considerably more safe, but it still kind of remains sort of the lawless bunch of ponies doing their own thing that it was before all this happened. Stable 998 and the Changelings. Chica eventually learns the trade and becomes queen of the hive, and helps to not put it too lightly, bring about a new generation of changelings as well, living changelings. And they sort of maintain a sort of peace with the rest of the mob by using the virtual simulators and their relationship with the Love Cats to, make sure there's enough love for the hive. And Chica makes the changelings mostly keep to themselves, though they do sort of scout everywhere they can, using Javolt's network as well to just sort of keep tabs on things, and if there needs to be something done, or if more changelings are found out there in the Wasteland, Chica's the one to send out scouts or operatives and do what needs to be done, at least in her. She's comes to be known, Queen Chica of the Changelings comes to be known as very reasonable and merciful, though up to a point. If you become her outright enemy, or become so despicable in her eyes, she has a reputation for being very ruthless then. And she and Zenkarn maintain a sort of casual relationship. Kind of romantic, kind of like, hey, friendly.
Sounds good.
I've been from Javolt's will to the people of Ribcage who so willingly endured me during some of my most unbalanced moments. I'm not sure willingly endured is the correct words, but okay. I apologize for any chaos I brought during my stay. I leave to Boss Joy a record of traditional donkey bar songs, which I am sure she can make good use of in her bar, and to Mighty Hide Bill, I leave a copy of The Art of Tactics. I'm sure I have one spare somewhere. Mighty Hide Bill, once he got kind of his big rage out of his system, eventually moves on and tries to start teaching anchor management courses to limited success. He sees limited success, but
he's trying, bless him.
Yeah. The B team. Lilypad stays with the Steel Rangers and remains one of their most effective agents. Stalker also kind of just disappears soon after and isn't heard from again. Though every so often Lilypad will go off on some unnamed excursion and won't tell any pony where she was, if asked. Short Circuit also stays in Gold Rush and becomes their mechanic, and kind of maintains a pen pal relationship with Flotsam.
Good.
Swapping mechanics, tips, and jokes and whatnot, I suppose.
And occasionally complaining about the people who keep overriding the circuit breakers. Come on, people.
How many signs and how much tape do you have to use to get people to stop messing with those?
Very much so.
10 Paces and Zephyr continue adventuring with the stuff they've got, and actually probably join up with Tempered Steel as well for some adventures. Excalibur kind of settles down in Gold Rush or Ribcage and just kind of thinks about his life choices for a while. Although, whenever there's, trouble, he's always the first to jump in and show the world that he's, a force to be reckoned with. But for the most part, he kind of becomes kind of a loner. Though eventually he does make some friends in the towns he stays in. And Zephyr is always coming by to try and drag him into some new thing, and he always reluctantly agrees to tag along. And 10 paces is just 10 paces, as cool as collected as ever. Eventually, the Black Lotus company, such as it is, earns some of its honor back. I'm starting to run out of...
Golden Crown.
Golden Crown.
And a relic.
Yeah, Golden Crown becomes the main trader of Stable 998. And she also becomes known for being much more ruthless than even Chica, and kind of, in her own way, tries to become sort of the power behind the throne in terms of the Changeling Hive, in terms of their business and political relationships. Although Chica doesn't really, she doesn't really sneak anything by Chica, but Chica just kind of lets her do her thing because, hey, it's what makes her happy, and she's doing an okay job. She becomes sort of the trade queen, secondary queen of Stable 998, which, with all the spare tech they have, becomes a major resource.
That's lots of business with Hayditch, you say?
Hayditch is definitely one of their customers. Malachite kind of flies off on his own, though never too far from where any of the Maulers are, but he kind of goes off on a journey of self-discovery, and generally keeps to himself, though stories do start to get around of a very, 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 very strong, mysterious green dragon wielding great magical power, sometimes swooping in whenever there's trouble and practically annihilating the evil that is there before flying away, before anyone can say so much as thank you. Eventually he returns to the Dragonlands and helps to advise Dragon Lord Aurelia. As for Aurelia, she, despite what she said, she basically almost constantly, writes or gets in contact with the Maulers for advice on how she's running things, but there's definitely some trouble with the rest of the inhabitants of Equestria, especially raider groups that rise up and try to go hunting dragons. There's a brief revival of hunting dragons for sport as some of the more lethal raider groups try and fight back against the dragons, but Aurelia and a few others are responsible for reaching out and finding allies, as well as keeping their own citizens in check, and eventually, despite many deaths, manages to find a sort of peace and find their own lands far off beyond the shores of Equestria. Although they do make regular migrations from the Dragonlands to the east and the Dragon's Maw. Once every few years, many dragons make the journey across Equestria down to the Dragon's Maw and settle down and interact with the ponies there to share, to trade, to chat, to hunt.
I'm going to say that Flotsam visits the Dragon's Maw whenever that happens.
And Aurelia is always the first to go around and say hi to everybody. What else? Who else should I talk about?
Gin and butter?
Jin just kind of serves out the rest of his duty without anybody finding out about his terrible secret. Butter becomes kind of a local hero for going on this big, dangerous journey and becomes like one of the most famous and prominent love cats. Like basically a local celebrity. He
I can only imagine what it's like to be a love cat celebrity.
He's the George Clooney of love cats somehow. I'm I said those words, and I have no idea how that works. But let's
It works hilariously.
Let's pretend that makes sense. Let's pretend that any of this makes sense. Yeah, I'm basically
Torque?
Sorry, what?
Torque, or is that covered under skill
Torque.
rangers?
Torque, what do I say about Torque that you can't probably already guess?
I've got something in the will.
Oh? I don't have it available, so.
Is Javolt's will relevant if he eventually ends up digitizing himself?
Well, yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, the current version I have was written right before going off. He's going to edit it, but it'll mostly remain the same.
Sorry, my dinner just arrived, so
there's the part that specifically refers to Torque.
Oh yeah, the dynamic duo mind link between Zenkarn and Flotsam. The two, you probably just let it fade out over time.
Yeah, we let it fade out.
I mean, I imagine you guys still remain friends. You are a fairly dynamic duo, after all. So, if I'm reading this right, you want Torque to basically become Monitor's guardian?
Yeah, basically.
Monitor, eventually, asks the Rangers to get her into a robot body, and, she becomes sort of a citizen of the Maw as well, while still maintaining her connection as a Steel Rangers database, and she kind of follows in her uncle's footsteps in trying to kind of manipulate behind the scenes to make the Rangers be better ponies, as it were. There's a bunch more. I mean, how many NPCs have I had to make up over the course of this campaign? Like 100?
Spud, we're forgetting the most important one. Cookie Crumbles.
Cookie Crumbles!
And Cup of Sunshine.
And Cup of Sunshine.
And Amber.
And Amber.
And Vasuki, of course.
Vasuki!
Did
so
we touch Vasuki?
Well, you physically made contact with her a couple times. Cookie Crumbles. Cookie Crumbles just eventually he tries to be with the followers of dragons for a while, but doesn't have enough skills to kind of cut it. Eventually, he goes to Staple 998 and starts a baking service. He opens a bakery.
Butter can teach him how to make cookies.
Yep, he learns the secret Love Cat recipe. Amber stays with the followers of dragons, and becomes one of their best, scouts. Very compassionate too, and I guess I have to ask Firelight if there's anything romantic there. She has a great deal of respect for Firelight for taking charge, I guess. I guess I'll just leave that open-ended. Who else was said? It was Kappa Sunshine. Definitely stays with the followers of dragons she makes many trips to the Dragonlands and relishes the opportunity to study not just like dragon culture and history, but like actually talk to dragons. And starts making coffee? I don't know. She introduces coffee to the dragons, which leads to some very interesting outcomes. Blue Moon stays dead.
We've also got people asking about Old Pony Hokey Pokey and Opportunity.
Old Pony Hokey Pokey stays with Skyfall as long as he's alive. Opportunity seeks his fortune elsewhere because he's getting as far away from those frickin' dragons as he can.
He is the one who knocks.
Night Stalker, we don't know Night Stalker's fate yet from Dynamic Duo, so I'm not going to talk about him. Her.
Night Stalker is actually the one recording all this and telling this story around the campfire.
We still don't know how Dynamic Duo is going to end, and well, anyway.
Well, it ends with them arriving in the mall.
Although, I think if we manage to finish Dynamic Duo, we'll talk about what happens post main campaign then. Who else do you want to hear about? Does that about cover it?
You just know that once we
do the sign off, it's gonna be like, wait, but what about
Trigger?
Trigger, goes to help Firelight in the Followers of Dragons, and basically stays Firelight's main companion and friend, closest friend.
Oh, the Hellhounds.
The Hellhounds, surprisingly, now that they've stayed with some ponies that don't mind them so much, they kind of formed their own mercenary group and go from town to town, seeing if any pony needs their services in exchange for food and caps and tech.
They've become known as the Reservoir Dogs.
No, they call themselves the Quarry Dogs.
I approve. I'm also going to hope that Craggy lives a long and happy life in the moor.
He does. He comes into the care of some of the famine tribals and is kept very well fed.
Good. If that's the case, Flotsam visits him anytime she's in the moor.
Why not full circle it and make them Diamond Dogs again? Because, one, that would be a really bad Metal Gear Solid 5 reference, and two, that's what they were before. What happened to the one guy we met right at the start that shot at me in Flotsam? He was
Rager.
No, Rager was a different guy who blew up. We're talking about, like, the one that Zenkarn and Flotsam met. He was chased off by zombies, and was not a terribly smart pony, and probably died soon after from, like, walking into a minefield or something. Or he shot at a dragon and got eaten. I like that better. And yeah, there's many stories in the Maw. There's many ponies living there, many that you've met, but I think that covers the gist of it. And it's not like there won't be more stories to tell. Oh, Id. I can't believe someone asked about Id. I don't know what happens to Id.
Id gets picked up by swirling mists.
By swirling mists?
Id learns
Swirling
dimension
mists,
hopping.
my character from the one time.
From the one-off.
Oh, geez, I completely purged that from my mind, and it's also not recorded, so.
Wasn't he in the cathedral?
Yeah, actually, he probably got blown up by the mini nuke, actually. Or at least damaged beyond repair, and eventually the brain died.
To be fair, the brain was probably accelerated towards death.
Yeah, you kind of, yeah. At that point, it was a mercy kill. I don't know, though. I still like that character. I think we're going to say it's assumed he died in the explosion.
If you don't find a body, don't count him dead.
What if they just fade away?
Yeah, because robo-brains do that, right? Mort.
Depends on the kind of explosive
someone's asking about Mort from the Death Tribe.
Mort.
He grows.
Has stayed in touch with Flotsam, whether he likes it or not.
He stays in touch with Flotsam and grows up to be a fairly remarkable necromancer, and uses his powers for good.
Sorry, my brain. I heard use his powers for good. My brain went, wow, what a shitty necromancer.
No, see, he summons zombies to protect people or something.
I know, but it's just...
He just uses them to fill out his Faceball team.
That too. Faceball becomes a morbid but popular sport in the Maw. Each of the towns and major factions have their own teams.
There's a whole league.
Yes, there's a Faceball league.
Oh.
Eventually, the Faceball stops being a taxidermied head and just becomes a ball with a face on it.
Well said.
That's probably for the best.
A Wilson ball.
Yeah, basically.
Just all the old ponies who are like, when back in my day when we used to kick a real face around.
Yeah, people get real ornery about that. The old timers get ornery about Faceball back in their day.
We used to kick it uphill both ways in the snow.
Yes.
Oh. I'm making jokes because I'm trying really hard not to cry.
Spud, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
May I have permission to use certain NPCs when I continue as Flotsam?
Do you really think I'm going to say no? I'd be like, no, these are all off limits. My OCs do not steal.
That's why I asked you in front of witnesses, so you couldn't possibly say no.
Donut Steele, Guardian of OCs. How did he end up?
He is, sir, not appearing in this campaign. Oh. I know there's probably a few obscure ones we're forgetting here and there, but I think...
Oh, look out in Stronghoof.
They stay in Skyfall and continue to live happy lives. Eventually they move out of the librarian job, and Lookout joins the Skyfall guards, and Stronghoof helps out with repairs and mechanics. But they continue to live happy lives.
Beryl.
And although they don't go traveling much anymore. They're kind of done with that.
Beryl the Griffin?
Who? Oh yeah, Beryl. Right, I thought.
Beryl.
Sorry, I heard it as barrel, like a barrel.
No, yeah, that's how I heard it whenever you said it until you spelled it. I'm like, oh, Beryl.
Barrel, like the gem.
Yes.
And just now I heard feral. Does Beryl go feral?
Hopefully not.
Oh, I think Din is crying. Hugs.
Hugs, Din.
Silent hugs. Beryl stays with the guard for a while until she's satisfied that Skyfall's guards are skilled enough to take care of the town and from any threats, and eventually leaves for a while to kind of continue her mercenary work. But as the land becomes more and more peaceful, she eventually kind of drifts her way back to Skyfall. And when Chase leaves, she spends a term as the new quote-unquote Chase.
Awesome.
And does a pretty okay job. Yeah, let's sit here for a few more minutes and think if we can see if we can think of anything else.
Oh god, I can't think of their name. The person we talked to it was Gold Rush. The one we got the map off.
Thunderspear?
That's him.
Yeah, the mayor of Gold Rush.
We are really scraping the bottom of the barrel of obscurity.
To be fair, you guys filled the barrel with so... You guys filled the barrel with so much stuff, and people want to see all of it, so it's like, we gotta scrape it. That's what we're here to do. Thunderspear... eventually retires pretty soon after all this craziness goes down, and just kind of helps out Scarlet Shaw with the farm. The next mayor turns out to be Sharper, your old therapist. And no reaction to that. Okay.
I was muted. Yay, Sharper.
We should probably... Yeah, we talked about Lookout and Stronghoof. We did. We talked about the B team. So I think for if you have any other questions about other NPCs from Dragon's Maw, you can probably answer them yourself. But, it's been 2.5 years. Like, January 19th, 2014-ish was...
Yeah, it was January.
It was, like, early, like, second or third week of January.
Mm-hmm. A couple short weeks before that year's Super Bowl.
That's the frame of reference for you, right? Because...
Yeah, pretty much. Because, like, the third thing in, that's when the Super Bowl happened, and wasn't there at the beginning of that session.
Right. It's been a hell of a ride. And this has been, in many ways, my baby, and I know some of yours as well. It's a heck of a thing for a project, a creative project especially, to be a part of your life for so long, and eventually just actually cap off the story.
To actually finish legitimately.
I'd like to point out that Flotsam story is not ending. I'm going to be continuing the Ask blog next week.
Cool. But, in terms of the campaign, and this sort of improv thing we've been doing, and there might be more to come, but in terms of sort of the main game, as it were, and for Ponytail's Aspiration of Harmony 1st edition, it's time for it to go.
It's time to send that system out to pasture.
It's
sticking it in a home.
It's a surprisingly old system. But I would just like to thank you guys immensely for keeping with it all this time.
Well, thanks to you too, Spud.
Just... Now I'm getting emotional. Let's... And thanks to all of you who are listening, watching the live stream, supporting things on Patreon and whatnot.
You guys are amazing.
You guys have... The love and energy you guys have put into this have kept us going.
And seriously, there have times I've been like really rock bottom, and the support from you guys has... I don't know about the rest of you, but it's really helped me, so I owe a lot to you guys. Thank you.
What comes next is hard to say. Maybe some more of this, maybe something different. I mean, at this point though, I've done so much GMing. One, I can't really stop, but two, I'm taking a bit of a break.
Well, you've earned it.
And you guys have been amazing players, playing amazing characters, and I'm happy you guys have put up with my quirks and whatnot.
Well, you've been an amazing DM.
Thank you. And we'll still do something Sunday nights. We'll keep the gang together as long as we can. We'll do something. This is what we've made here isn't going away, just this story. And with that, I think it's time to sign off for the last time for this campaign.
What are we gonna do after saying after saying the first line?
You can't say join us next week.
No, we can't.
Yeah, I think the first line covers everything pretty well.
Well, maybe a thank you for listening.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Should I just do the first line?
Spud can do the second line.
So are we ready to do the sign out, or?
I'm not, but let's do it anyway.
Define ready, please.
I don't know if I can define ready. Okay. This has been Fallout is Dragons.
The world of Fallout Equestria is now full of dragons. Or, to put it another way, Fallout is dragons. Thank you for listening.